I want to call to order the Amberley Village Council meeting of September 11. Please call the roll.
Richard Bardak. Here. Ben Hunt.
Here.
Tom Muthing.
Here.
Keely Paul. Here. Bob Rosen.
Here.
Jay Schatz. Dara Wood.
Here.
Scott Larmer.
Here.
Andrew Kakey.
Here.
Chief Wallace.
Here.
Rick Kay.
Here.
If everyone could please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, first item on the agenda is our minutes from our last regularly scheduled meeting. Those were circulated in advance. Are there any changes to those minutes? Seeing none, we can consider the minutes approved. And right when we get to the finance report, he leaves.
They can't find my packet. Packet that I'm working on.
Oh, my. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll come back to the finance report, and we'll first go,
Oh,
are you ready for the finance report?
I am.
Okay. The finance report for this month.
Thank you. The finance report for the month of July, in regards to the general fund revenues, I'll talk about the earnings tax first. The earnings tax collections for the month of July total $218,000. This gives us a year-to-date total of $2.7 million. So we've collected about 73% of the estimate for 2023, which was $3.7 million. On overall general fund revenues, we've collected a little over $4 million of the $6 million estimate. So we're sitting at about a 66% collection rate at this point. The expenses for the month of July totaled $451,000. Year-to-date expenses, $3.4 million. Our budget for the year is $6.9 million, so we have expended 49% of the 2023 budget. And that leaves us with an unencumbered general fund balance at the end of July of $6 million. That concludes my report.
Are there any questions for the manager? Okay, we'll move on to Finance Committee, or committee reports, and as Chair of the Finance Committee, I will present the Finance Committee report. Before you this evening is Resolution 2023-20, authorizing the village manager to enter into an agreement with Huntington Bank for commercial credit cards. This is necessary because we have switched main banks. Earlier this year, we had a resolution approving Huntington as our main banker. We have been using credit cards for village business, small business, but we've used credit cards for years, and that's been a very effective way of doing business. But as part of this process is we have to establish with the new bank that agreement. And so this resolution will basically authorize the village manager to enter into that agreement with Huntington for those credit cards. The credit cards that we previously had with PNC will all be destroyed, and we'll just have the Huntington credit cards. And those credit card statements are reviewed monthly, and in fact, the village treasurer, Rick Kay, is involved in reviewing those credit card statements on a monthly basis. So I hereby move that we approve Resolution 2023-20, authorizing the village manager to enter into an agreement with Huntington.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2023-20. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none? No. Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded that we approve Resolution 2023-20. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it noted that that resolution passes unanimously. And that concludes the Finance Committee report. We'll now move on to the Police and Fire Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Police and Fire Committee recently met to review a request from the Police Department to purchase flock cameras for the village. So before you tonight is Resolution 2023-21, authorizing the village to secure 8 flock safety cameras, not to exceed a dollar amount of $29,200. A little background, flock cameras are a proactive tool for crime prevention, detection, and deterrence. The flock camera system employs automated license plate reader technology, capturing images that are cross-referenced with a national crime database. Police can be alerted immediately if a stolen car passes a camera, and the system records the details of vehicles entering our community, including license plate, make, model, color, frequency, etc. That is then searchable if crimes occur in the village. So it can be proactive in the immediate, and then it can also be used to help solve crime after it happens. We understand from neighboring communities that these systems have been monumental in helping them fight crime in their communities. We have in the packet a number of examples from some of the neighboring communities, and kind of the stories speak for themselves. So tonight, I'd like to make a motion that council pass Resolution 2023-21, authorizing the village to purchase 8 flock safety cameras in a dollar amount not to exceed $29,200.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 2023-21, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract to lease flock cameras. Are there any questions or comments?
I have a question. So are these in the police vehicles, or it's something that's set up on the road?
Great question. So the cameras, these are 8 cameras that would be placed around the village. There's kind of key points that were identified by the police department and by Flock.
But they'll be in those spots all the time.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think it's important for council to know that this is not a one-time expenditure, that the price of these cameras is $3,000 each on an annual basis. And it's also, I would like to note that last year, the cameras were $2,500 a year. These are very, very popular. A lot of police have them all over the county. And will be tied into other communities so that if something happens in another community or something happens in our community and that car happens to go somewhere else, it will be picked up on their flock cameras. It's a very impressive system, but it is a continuing expense that the village will have to endure.
And also worth noting, that's a 5-year contract, the current deal, yeah.
That's correct.
Other questions, comments? Chief, one question that someone posed to me. So if a stolen car, and it's on this system, enters the village, does that then get notified to dispatch, or?
Yeah, it actually sends a image of the car and notifies dispatch right away, as well as it alerts the other cars that are on the road of the location of it. The main thing is it's, as it can be used for that. The big thing is for, detection of solving crime, knowing who's in the area at which given time. And that's the biggest tool that we're going to get out of this. So our key points of camera placements, they won't move because we want to be able to hit every entrance to the village as cars come into the village. We'll be able to document those.
And then the only other thing, it ties into Mr. Rosen's comment. I commend the police department for being diligent and, this is an area where there's a lot of new technologies coming out. And I think you've been very selective, because you could easily, every month come to us with a new proposal to buy something new. But I think you've been very diligent in first, challenging each little thing, and in this case, challenging how many we needed. So I think you guys have done a great job and it's something that we're going to have to continue to do because technology will continue, and we just got to make sure we can't commit to every last thing that comes out because we can't afford that. But I really do commend the police department and the admin department for being diligent and really challenging each of these things. But I do think this is a great tool to have available to your team. And it's also will hopefully enhance safety because when you know something's out there, that helps.
I just want to add on there is, I actually spoke to a couple of the homeowners associations, and like even one for like Roman Reserve, they've already acknowledged that they want one at the entrance to their area, and they're willing to cover the cost of that. So I'm going to be working with them as well as the Romans in different communities. So that way the village is not absorbing the expenses for additional cameras, but if people want them in their individual neighborhoods and they have HOAs or something, they can work on that.
When do we expect these to be functional?
So I'll have to call them in the morning. 2 weeks ago, they put us on the list where I said we got a verbal from council. I'm just waiting for full council approval before we could actually do the purchase. So people are buying them every day. So I'm hoping within the next month we can get them out here and start the installation process. Once they start the process, they'll have them all up in 3 or 4 days.
Okay, any other questions? If not, it has been moved and seconded that we adopt Resolution 2023-21, authorizing the village manager to enter into a contract for the flock cameras. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Be it noted that that resolution passes unanimously.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. The first item I wanted to mention was in regards to the Human Rights Commission. Jim Boney has indicated he would like to step down from the Human Rights Commission. He has served since the Human Rights Commission was appointed in 2019. He has some personal matters going on with family and is asked to be replaced. And so we'll go ahead and just advertise, encourage residents to apply, and we'll go through that process similar to what we've done before. A second item I wanted to mention in regards to the policy of fundraising. One of the objectives that council had established was for the creation of a policy on fundraising for special events. The Finance Committee has vetted this. There's been 2 different meetings on that. And the last Finance Committee meeting on September 7th, the Finance Committee was good with the report or the policy. And so that has been included in your council packet for council to review. The last item I wanted to mention was in regards to what's referred to as TUG, the Targeted Underground status. This is the putting electric underground that has occurred in the southwest part of the village. We were having major issues with electricity outages in the southwest part of the village. The village did petition Duke Energy to invest a huge sum of money to get the electric underground. And a lot of the communities, like on Elbrook, north of Section, those utility lines were behind the homes, which made it even more difficult to service them after a storm or when there was foliage that had caused power outage. So Duke has done a phenomenal job of not only investing in the village by getting rid of overhead electric and putting it underground, but also just trying to button up in terms of the reliability and the redundancy with the electric serving the southwest part of the village. So it included Elbrook Avenue north of Section, Royal Oak Court, Laurel Oak Lane, Fair Oaks Drive on the north end of that street, and then part of Section Road as you're approaching Elbrook. The last piece is Larkfield Drive. That was part of their overall plan, was to do Larkfield Drive as well. However, they have encountered supply chain issues, and so that is not going to be moving forward until the supply chain issues have been rectified and they've got those actual transformers in place so that they can be guaranteed that they will have them instead of having open trenches and being in a situation where they're waiting on parts to come in. So, but we are very appreciative of what Duke has done with this project to help our residents with the electricity reliability issue. And that concludes my report.
Are there any questions for the manager? If not, Chief, do you have a report?
So the first thing I want to mention is, this year, unfortunately, there was multiple things I brought to council, but the one thing was being the body cameras. We tried for about 4 or 5 years to get grants, and we were unsuccessful. So we felt it was important that we went ahead and started the process and put a program in place. So I'll say that the program's in place. The body cams are being worn on a regular basis by the officers. We have 10 of them currently. As of today, the new body camera grant opened up again, and so we're hoping we can apply again to actually buy the total number we need. We had needed 20 more cameras. So instead of constantly rotating them, it makes the process simpler. So our hopes are that we're able to use the fact that we did the upgrading of our computers as well as bought the system and the cameras. This would actually give us a little bit of clout toward the grant to be able to get some additional funding. The next thing I want to talk about is the burglaries that we've been experiencing. I know the manager sent all of council an email. I don't have an exact date, but I'm going to do a public town meeting to go over the safety and security regarding these burglaries. They're not going to go away, and it's going to continue to get worse. I mean, we went through a stint from probably 2012 to 2019, and we may have had 2 burglaries in that entire time. And since 2019 now, we have experienced 6 burglaries in the village, as well as 2 attempted burglaries, and 3 of those burglaries being this year. So we're kind of hitting, it's a trend where it's actually hitting other communities around us. It's based on the same method of operation. There's probably about 6 departments involved in this, and they're all working together to try to narrow this down. These flock cameras will assist us big time because some of the other communities have flock cameras. When you have a burglary, you're able to, pinpoint all the vehicles that were in the town at the time. I go to another jurisdiction and ask them for all the cars that were in their town, and hopefully narrow it down to find out what vehicles are in the towns at the time. We obviously we're getting more proactive, but this is not going to be solved by the police department alone. It's going to have to be the use of us seriously making this plea to the residents to meet with us, talk about this. The goal was to hopefully do it this week, but it's probably going to be the first of next week when we do it. I want to have 2 different sessions, a morning session and an afternoon session, just to go over it. But also, we're going to open up the enrollment of our complete. I don't really remember the name of it. What did I call it, Scott? For the alarm system? Total Connect. Total Connect. So we're going to open up Total Connect on our alarm system. So if you have AV alarm, you'll have access to Total Connect. That'll cost to cover our costs, it'll be $10 to the resident that does Total Connect. What that does, it gives them the abilities to check their alarm on their cell phones, allow them to turn it on and off while they're away. And I think that, people have been pushing for this for a while. So I think we got to get this thing rolled out and continue. If you're leaving town, notify the police department. If you're in town and you're just uncomfortable for some reason and you want officers to drive by and check the house, we're more than welcome to do drive-bys and check the house. Special attention to it. But, what we're having is these individuals are parking their vehicles on side streets and stuff. And what we're going to plead to the residents is when you see this, you got to call us and tell us this vehicle is not normal in this neighborhood. Could you come and check the car out? And at least we're documenting the plates, and we have officers patrolling those areas, because it's a high likelihood that, when these individuals came to town, they passed an officer, and we might have them on a license plate reader camera already, because all the cars have those. But it's just a matter of getting all this data put together, plus doing some search warrants on some other items to be able to get, gather more information. That's really all I have. Is anybody have any questions on the burglary stuff?
Any questions?
What areas have they been in? I know one was Valley,
So the last three this year, we had the last one was in the area of Spring Valley, butts up the Romans. And then the last two were in Romans, and then I had 2 attempts this year in Romans as well.
popular.
Yeah. So my hopes is to get the Roman HOA on board, like I have the Roman Reserve HOA. And what we're asking is, to cover that. I had a resident step up and cover the first 2 years in Roman Reserve himself, and the HOA agreed to take it from year 3 on. So anybody has a good contact for Romans, you can let me know and we'll reach out.
I have someone I can talk to. Because they would like it, probably.
Yeah. I think at this point, we need to do whatever we can, and we know this is a tool that will assist us. And we just, people you have to, can't worry about calling and thinking that we don't want to call and inconvenience the police. If you see something, just call, say something, these guys are getting paid to go out there, men and women go out, pay out there, and they're driving around anyway. For them to come by your house or check a vehicle or something, it's not a big deal. And I don't care if that's at, 3 in the afternoon or 3 in the morning. We want to get the phone calls. The phone calls help us gather the information. Keely?
Do we think it's maybe the same people, and do we know if they're targeting specific, what kind of items are they trying to steal?
So, without saying too much, we are pretty sure it's the same people because of the method of operation that what's going on, but they target financial stuff. They will steal your identity, which we've seen that now. Typically, residents, people in general leave their valuable items in their bedrooms, and they keep their safes in their bedroom closet, keep their jewelry in their bathroom, because that's where they get dressed. But what I always tell people is, if you're uncertain whether your house is safe, call the police department and have us send an officer out there and do a security check on your house. And, what I'm going to recommend is that, no different than my daughter moving out of state when she wanted a safe put in her house, she wanted it in her bedroom, and I refused to put it in the bedroom. I put it in the living room, and you put it in a wall in the living room, it's covered by a mirror that you open on a hinge door. I mean, you can't make it, you have to make it inconvenience for them, because literally they're going to go under your bed, they're going to go in your closet, and you won't see this, but like on pictures on these burglaries, they go in there and they'll take every shoebox out of the closet and dump it, because some people that think that's a safe place to hide it. They'll empty every drawer in the bathroom, because that's where people hide stuff, in the back of drawers. So they'll just rip the whole drawer out.
Any other questions? If not, thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
On the mayor's report, just a couple items. For those that frequently use Amberley Green, you will note that the thing that we've talked about at previous council meetings, the prairie, is in process. The grass on the south end of the green is turning very brown. They have one more treatment for the grass, and then they will be planting the prairie in early October, probably, and then it should come up next spring. Secondly, the Environmental Stewardship Committee next meeting will be September 27th at 7 o'clock. And then finally, I just want to wish all of our Jewish residents a blessed High Holy Days as they come up over the next couple weeks. I know this is a very important time of the year for our Jewish residents, and I hope that it's a very blessed period for our Jewish residents. And that concludes my mayor's report. Any questions? Any new business? If not, we can consider the meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.